35 Russian diplomats and their families have left the United States after being expelled as part of sanctions announced last week. The Obama administration accusing Moscow of meddling in the 2016 presidential election. And now we're learning there is debate in the intelligence community over how much information on the investigation should be declassified. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in Washington with that for us. Hi, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Patty Ann. After last week's joint intelligence assessment that was released by the FBI and Homeland Security, Fox News has learned that there's a healthy debate within the intelligence community itself over how much additional information should be declassified to show the hacks were a Russian-led operation. An intelligence source said there's much more information than what was released last week, but the concern in the intelligence community is over exposing sources and methods and collection by foreign governments who work with the U.S. On Fox and Friends this morning, the future White House press secretary urged caution.
It's not a question of what I believe, Ed. It's a question of what happened. And I think there's an intelligence report that's due out later this week. And once that report is made final and the president-elect is briefed, then I think we'll have a better idea of what to make of the situation.
The key issue here is intent and motivation, which are very high thresholds to cross, and neither were fully addressed in last week's joint assessment from the FBI and Homeland Security. And for some context, in the past, the Russian government has strenuously denied events, and in one case, the U.S. government was forced to declassify highly sensitive signals intelligence to make its case to the public. Patty Ann.
So how has the president-elect responded?
Well, reporters last week heard from the president-elect on New Year's Eve when he downplayed the intelligence assessment that had just been released.
Well, I just want them to be sure, because it's a pretty serious charge, and I want them to be sure. And if you look at the weapons of mass destruction, that was a disaster, and they were wrong. And so I want them to be sure. I think it's unfair if they don't know. And I know a lot about hacking, and hacking is a very hard thing to prove. So it could be somebody else. And I also know things that other people don't know, and so they cannot be sure of the situation.
Mr. Trump gets an in-depth intelligence brief this week, and the final report that was requested by the president is expected in the next 2 weeks. But the key issues to follow are this issue of intent and motivation, because, again, you can't emphasize enough that this is a very high threshold to cross in terms of the intelligence. Patty Ann.
Right. Catherine Herridge, live for us in Washington. Thank you.
You're welcome.